Everybody, and we are here at our new club, and as you can see, we're in England, we're in the Championship, we are in charge of Aston Villa. And let me tell you, it was not easy finding a job. It was the opposite. It was very difficult. As you can see, we are now in October, around 6 months have passed in the game. Yeah, it was really difficult. I started off, as I did last time, since our reputation had gone up a little bit, going for sort of struggling teams in the Serie A and Bundesliga. Just nothing. Absolutely nothing. I went for Freiburg, who had barely avoided relegation in the playoffs. Nope, they didn't want us. I went for Genoa. I went for Sampdoria, who finished 17th and 16th in the Serie A. No, nothing at all. Just nobody wanted us. Absolutely nobody wanted us. And it's mainly because the reputation of the competitions is around 4.5 stars for those divisions, whereas we only have a reputation of 3 stars. And then the clubs in general as well have reputations of around 3.5 stars or above. So, yeah, it was just impossible for us to move into those leagues. Our reputation was far below the competition and club reputations. So, they just weren't having us. So I took a step down. And Aston Villa became available. I applied for it, not expecting to get it, to be honest. I thought this was a job, I'm not going to lie, a little bit above us. And they offered us an interview immediately. We walked through the interview process. And, well, we've landed the job. It's a really good appointment, to be honest. Now, I'll go into the squad and things in a little bit. But, genuinely, I'm really happy with this. I did say earlier in the series, probably around, well, a number of tens of episodes ago now. But I wanted to wait until we could go to a really big club to move to England. But honestly, that kind of went out the window when this opportunity became available at the position we were in. Because the things we were looking at were either struggling Serie B, or Bundesliga 2, or the Spanish League 2 teams, or something like moving to a country like Denmark or Norway or somewhere like that and going to a top club there, which didn't seem like an overly faster road, and it seemed like it'd just be either really difficult to overtake the top clubs in those countries, or really boring if we managed to land a job at one of those top clubs. So, Aston Villa are an absolutely massive club, really, bigger than they are in this game right now. They're struggling in the Championship at the minute. They've been in the Premier League recently, and we'll go over that in a second. But, yeah, we should be able to take them up. It should be a club that we can work with, and I'm really hoping we can, to be honest. I'm hoping we can perform well with them and hopefully stay here for a good few years. But, well, let's get into the history of the club for a little bit and just see where they've been since the game has started. So, as you can see here, they started in the Championship, obviously, and they sort of middled around here for a while. Their lowest finish was 16th in the table, which is not terrible for a lowest position. They had a couple where they came close. They reached the playoffs in 2022-23 and in 19-20, but couldn't get up through the playoffs and couldn't secure automatic promotion until they finished 6th in 2027-28, where they did win the playoffs. They went up. They had a season where they narrowly avoided relegation, finishing 16th, and then last season got relegated, finishing 18th, which, the highest you can finish while still coming down. You'd expect them to be doing decent this year. No, they're really not. They're currently 23rd in the league on 10 points after 12 games. 2 wins, 4 draws and 6 defeats with a -5 goal difference. They are really struggling, so you'd expect them to be doing a lot better. I think they've got a squad which shows they could be doing a lot better. They've got a lot of money floating around the club. You'd expect them to do more. They are also out of the Carabao Cup, being knocked out by Southampton in the 3rd round, so they had a little bit of a run, but they sort of fell at the first real hurdle, I do feel like. So, yeah, if we go to the schedule here, you'll see that, yeah, they have just sort of, they beat Gillingham and Ipswich and then fell over to Southampton. I'm not quite sure where Ipswich are. Yeah, League 1. So they beat a couple of League 1 and League 2 teams and then played a Premier League team and failed. So, yeah, about sums that up. Sorry, I thought I said they had a player worth 71 million. They do have someone worth 57, to be fair, which isn't far off. And 60. Jesus, Southampton have got some players. Look at this! What's going on? This is mad. This is absolutely mental. What's happened to the money in the game? It's just worth nothing. I thought we had a big transfer budget. I'm feeling less optimistic than I was now. I wish I hadn't done that. I wish I hadn't clicked there. That is mental. Look at all the oh, wow. Okay, they're a division above us anyway, so that's not a major issue. But, as you can see, we do have quite a healthy transfer budget. 43 million and 255k to spend on wages should hopefully allow us to strengthen to a point where we should be, at the very least, okay. Now, well, let's get stuck into the players and see where we do need to strengthen. So with us being at a new club and having so many players to go over, obviously we've got an entire squad, I feel the best way to do it is to start off with the players who I think will be the most important and then start touching on the substitutes and reserves at the end. So, let's begin with Veljko Vidanovic, our goalkeeper, and he is okay. He's not terrible by any means, but he's also not a standout player. He's only 25 years old, Serbian. He looks like he should be a decent player, but he's not leaping out to me. He's not standing out as like a top class keeper or anything like that. He looks like he should be fine. He should be okay. And our second choice keeper is honestly kind of really close to him in terms of ability. He's a couple of years older. We'll touch on him in a bit, but it's a really close competition. But if he doesn't impress, we do have another player we can turn to. But I don't think he'll let us down too much. I don't think he'll be bad by any means. He just won't be incredible. So right back, we have Joe Philip, and he looks a bit average, to be honest. We've got 4 right backs at the club and 2 more out on loan. But honestly, none of them are really leaping out to me as being tremendous players. So it feels like we've got a bit more quantity than quality, if I'm going to be honest. So he's got the pace, he's got some good acceleration, some decent physicals, really. But other than that, it's a bit average, to be honest. He's got some mentals in there, he's got some technicals in there, but it's nothing major, it's nothing great. So the crossing's fine at 10, but I'd like that to be a bit higher. Similar story with the passing. He can mark, he can tackle, he can head. He should be fine. He's only 22, so he's got a lot of room to develop, and I'm hoping he does so, but I'm not overly optimistic about our right-back position. But he's going to have a chance to impress, and if he doesn't impress, we've got a lot of players we can use there instead. Our first centre-half is Filip Benkovic, and he would be our first-choice defender, our first-choice centre-half, if he wasn't currently out with injury for 5 to 8 weeks. He will obviously feature this season. It's not a massive injury, but at 33 years old, you've got to wonder what it's going to do to him, really. But he looks like a very good player. He's got some great technicals in there, some absolutely great mentals too. And obviously he's got the lack of pace and the lack of acceleration that sort of comes with his age, but he's still got the jumping reach. He's still a big player. And sort of his mentals hopefully should make up for that. He's got that positioning, he's got that anticipation, he's got that concentration to hopefully mean he can be in the right place and not be overly pace reliant. So I'm fairly optimistic about him, and it's a massive shame that he's injured. Also, at 33 years old, he's valued at 15 million, which is pretty absurd, to be honest. He must be a pretty good player to still have that value at this age. So I'm quite optimistic he'll be good for us. We just need him to return from injury. So one of the players who will be starting at centre-half for us is Gabriel. Now, he can also play right-back, but honestly, we kind of just need defenders, especially with Benkovic being out, so I figured I would use him at centre-back. But in either position, he does actually have flaws. So at centre-half, he's only got 9 heading, which isn't really enough. But then at right back, he's only got 5 crossing, which is abysmal. And I really like my fullbacks to be able to get up and down and sort of get involved in the play quite a lot. So yeah, I'm not really sure what to make of him, to be honest. I think he's got quality in there, and obviously the value in his wage reflects that too, as well as that star rating. But he's just lacking things for me. In both of his main positions, he's lacking something crucial. And I'm honestly not really sure how long he'll be with us. I think he'll be decent, and I don't think he'll be a disaster by any means, but I wish he just had a little bit more about him. I wish he just was perfected in one area rather than being a bit of jack of all trades, to be honest. So hopefully he's good. Hopefully he proves me wrong and he proves to be an outstanding player. But honestly, the hopes aren't overly high. And the player who will be partnering him, at least until Benkovic returns, is Diogo Vidasa. And again, he looks like a decent player, 33 years old, but his value certainly has depreciated, down at 2.5 million. But his stats honestly haven't. He's still got a fair bit of pace about him. He should be okay. I'm not overly worried. He looks fine. Like, none of his technicals stand out. None of his mentals are mind-blowingly good, but none of them are too bad either. He can distribute the ball a lot better than our other centre-halves with 13 passing. He's got decent in the defensive stats, and then he's got some good mentals to back it up. Good positioning, good concentration, anticipation, all important stats, and that bravery too. So I'm hoping he can do a decent job for us. I'm not expecting him to light the world on fire, but he should be a solid centre-half for us. So at left-back, we have Darren Richards, and he's a bit average, really. He's got some decent stats thrown around there, especially in the physicals department, but is just everything just leaves a little bit to be decided. I wish that crossing and passing was a bit better. I wish his tackling and marking was a bit better, to be honest. His positioning at 14 isn't terrible, but it's not great either. Everything just feels a little bit lower than I'd like it to be. Now, he's only 24, so he's got a little bit of time to grow, and he's going to be our starting left-back for the season. But, again, I'm not overly sure he's going to be electric. I'm hoping he can prove me wrong, but At the very least, he should at least be a competent left back, even if he's not amazing. So defensive midfield, we have Alexei Sheltsov, and he looks like a decent defensive midfielder. He's got a lot of the stats I like. He can play a fair few roles in that position: halfback, defensive midfielder, ball winner, anchorman. He's decent, to be honest. He looks like he's a bit average, but honestly, like, he's not. Like, the stats he needs are kind of where he needs him to be. I wish the passing was a little bit better, but unfortunately, we'll kind of just have to take what we can get. It's not terrible, though. He's got some decent physicals thrown in there. He should be a fairly good defensive midfielder. Again, I don't think he's going to be incredible, but he looks like a pretty solid player, and I think he'll do a good job for us. He's also got quite a good value as well, so if we do need to move him on, we can hopefully get a lot for him. So in the centre of midfield, we have a loanee. We have Jake Doyle-Hayes on loan from Watford, 31-year-old Irish midfielder, and he looks pretty good, to be honest. He's got some good mentals across the board, really. None of them too low at all. None of them really hitting that height other than the anticipation, but they're all okay. They're all very good, so it's kind of fine. It's a similar story with his physicals. Again, that light blue across the board, that okay rating, that good rating. It's not okay, it's better than okay, it's good. So I'm hoping he can do alright for us, and then his technicals are fine too. Passing, technique, all very good. First touch. Hopefully should be quite a creative force in our midfield, and hopefully responsible for a lot of the goals that we do score. I'm really hoping he can just get amongst it and sort of be the motor for our team. Just start like distributing the ball to where it needs to go. I think he'll be a good player, but obviously things like age and just always sort of throw you off. And then again, nothing really stands out. It's just a very average, well, not average, it's a good player across the board, but nothing really pushes into being great. Nothing makes him leap off the page and go, wow, that's so good. He's just very consistently good. Now, I'm hoping that could be to our benefit, to be honest. A player who's just consistently good might actually be what we need. So, I'm hoping he can have some good performances for us, even if he is only on loan and we will lose him at the end of the season. So, another player who's got a bit of an injury, only out for a couple of days, is right winger Mark Collins. And he's kind of a complete opposite of the player we just looked at. He's literally a player of strengths and weaknesses, and he's got like great crossing, he's very quick, he's got great agility, some good mentals in flair and determination, great technique, but then he also has some stats which are really quite, less than impressive. Things like 10 passing, 10 finishing are just quite disappointing, really. And then 11 teamwork is like kind of poor for a player who's expected to be crossing to their teammates, And then, again, a lot of the other physicals, like 10 strength, 12 stamina, they're just a little bit below par. But I'm hoping that those strengths can really shine through, and I'm not sure how much he will play, because of the formations we've got and the other players we have available. But if we do need him, I'm quite excited to use him, to be honest. It's not very often we use these players who have clear weaknesses but also excel so strongly in some areas. I think he might be quite an exciting player to use. So also on the right-hand side, we have Karim Banon, able to play on the right wing or in the right midfield. And he's a bit more rounded. He's got some stats which are quite a bit worse. And I think overall he is probably a worse player. But he doesn't look bad by any stretch of the imagination. He's got some great physicals in there and some decent mentals and technicals scattered around too. I think he'll be able to do a decent job for us when we need him. I'm quite optimistic, especially about the fact he can play this right midfield position, because that is something I am looking to utilise. So on the left wing, we have Alexei Pitou, an inside forward, and again, he looks like a player of strengths and weaknesses. Very quick, some great vision, flair, technique, first touch, dribbling, but then again, a lot of stats as well that you'd like to just be that little bit higher. Things like work rate, teamwork, stamina, finishing, passing. Actually, no, his passing's alright, sorry, I was looking at marking when I said that, but he does look like a pretty solid all-around player, and he should be able to do a job as that inside forward role, hopefully bag a few goals for us, with obviously things like being very quick will aid him in that, and then having good control of the ball with that first touch, technique, and dribbling. He should be able to get himself into some good positions to score. It's just whether he can actually put the finish on it, but he's not actually played much this season, only playing one game with 2 substitute appearances, and a 6.43 average rating is very poor, but well, hopefully he can perform better than that now that we are in. So the other player on the left-hand side is Denis Yastremski, and similar to Banon, he's able to play as the left midfielder or the left winger, which is something I'm looking to use. And well, he looks pretty good, really. He's got some definite poor technicals, but everything else is pretty solid. His mentals are good, his physicals are pretty good, especially for his age at 30 years old. He's quick, he's strong, he should be able to do a decent job for us. I'm a little bit worried about his technicals, I'm not going to lie. He doesn't really look like he's got the ability to take a man on with only 10 dribbling, which is a bit of a worry for a winger, to be honest. Not got great technique either, not got a great first touch. But hopefully he can just get up and down, put some crosses in, create some plays, and Well, hopefully he performs a little bit better than those technicals are leading me to believe. So let's get on to the strikers, starting with our almost £30 million man, Donny Haryanto. And well, he looks like quite a good player, let's be honest. He can play in a lot of different roles: poacher, complete forward, advanced forward, etc. And he's got 17 finishing. He's got some excellent mentals throughout there too, especially things like that teamwork and work rate are going to be so crucial. And that off the ball at 18, he looks like a really, really good out-and-out poacher. You can see I've got it selected in the green stats, all very high. And then some great physicals in there too. I wish he was a little bit quicker, that's really my only complaint, but he's a big player, he can hold the ball up. He can, you know, hopefully just do a good job of just winning the ball and putting it into the back of the net, which, honestly, is all we really need. We need some good strikers, and it's safe to say we do have a good number of good strikers, so I'm hoping he can really impress and score quite a lot for us. So also up front, we have Mikel Bayliss, and he looks like another very good player. So he's less flexible, that's fair to say, more comfortable as only a pressing forward or advanced forward, but he does have some great stats thrown around, and, you know, he's a bit quicker, he's still got a great shot on him, a little bit less physical, but still by no means a weak player. 15th strength, 14 jumping reach, by no means catastrophic. He looks like he should be a really good partner, to be honest, and they should function together quite well, with one of them hustling to win the ball, the other one scoring the goals, and then, you know, both capable of scoring too, don't get me wrong. I'm hoping it can be a really, really good partnership and they can just work very well together. So should either of those fail to perform, we do have a decent third choice option in John Foster. Now, he's not overly flexible, but he can play as an advanced forward or complete forward, which are both pretty important roles. And he's, again, not as much of a natural finisher, which is why he's our third choice, but he's not by any means bad. His stats are pretty good across the board, and if either of the other two are struggling for form, he should be able to come in and do a decent job. So this is how this leaves us lining up, and we do have a few tactics set up. The first one is a 4-1-3-2. Not the most conventional formation, but it's not that weird either. It should function fairly similarly to a standard 4-4-2, which we do also have set up next to it. The only issue is we don't really have that many great central midfielders. You'll see our backup here, Toma, is just fairly average across the board. He's not outstanding by any means, so if we do need him, we can use him. We can try him out in the 4-4-2, but not going to be my first choice. I'm going for this first off. Now, this does mean we are using Banon and Jastrzemski, both of whom I don't think are great, but I'm hoping that sort of the system can just accommodate them to make the most of their strengths, and hopefully can lead us to a lot of goals with a striking partnership of Haryanto and Bayliss, who hopefully can impress quite a lot. Now, there are a few players here who we didn't cover, and we can go over them now. Backup left-back, Alpa Yildiz, who is just a bit average, really. Neither of our left-backs are great. I don't think any of our right-backs are that good either. You'll see down here somewhere, yeah, we've got Sam Morris and Marriott, who are just a bit, yeah, whatever, really. Not, like, he can't cross at all. He's got 6 crossing, which is fairly abysmal. Sam Morris, again, slightly better crossing, but worse defensively. They'll probably get chances at some point, because I'm not overly convinced that Joe Philip is going to be an amazing player, but it's just a case of which one decides to impress me, really. So, yeah, a few other players. Cole McGee's worth pointing out. 16-year-old striker valued at 240k with some decent stats for his age. Certainly not ready to be starting yet, but a pretty decent player. I've called him up to the first team in case we do need that fourth striker. But, yeah, he looks like a decent player. So, I think I said decent about 9 times in that sentence. But, yeah, there's good players here, that's for sure. This is our backup goalkeeper, John Julius Steinarsson, who, like I said, is pretty close in quality to Vidanovic, but just, again, not a standout. I think we really do lack a couple of standout players, sort of outside of the strikers and maybe a couple of other players littered throughout, but even the ones with the high ratings really aren't screaming their heads off to me at being amazing players. But we do have that budget to back us up. We can try and shift some players on. We do also have Ronaldo Vieira, notable for having an amazing name, but he's not that great on the pitch, to be honest. He's not bad by any means, but I think we've got a lot of players like that. We've got a lot of players who aren't bad, but also aren't great, and I think it might either bite us or be really good. Like, we've got a lot of players we can rely on, but no one who's really going to take the game just sort of and just run it themselves. Jeff Fenny's a player who we've got in on loan from Man United, and I don't really understand why. He's just not that good. I think we just really needed central midfielders, so someone must have loaned him in thinking, oh, he is a central midfielder, and that is correct, he is, but right now he's just not really that good, so I don't really see him playing for us, and I don't understand why Man United would loan him to us. So, yeah, fourth choice centre-half, Steve Brown's just, I mean, he's a bit rubbish, isn't he? He's just a bit rubbish across the board. Yeah, we've got 3 players better than him. I don't think we really need to talk too much about him. And then Carlos Fajardo, I believe, is the last one. Plucked him from the reserves myself. He just looks like a decent backup defensive midfielder. Hoping he can do a job if we need him, but also at the same time, hoping we don't need him. So that pretty much rounds out the team. Now, we do have 3 tactics set up. This one is there to utilise our wingers, which are probably better than our wide midfielders in Alexi Pitu and Collins, but they're just... We have 2 good strikers and 2 good wingers, which is really awkward. I'm trying to utilise the strikers first. I think a strike partnership could go very well. We've got decent wide players still, even if they're not great. And I feel like it just makes the most of the best players we do have. But if this does fail, we can always switch it up. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. So sort of a bit of an overview on the squad so far from my perspective is that kind of we lack quality and we have a bit too much quantity. I feel like we've got far too many right backs for a start. We've got 2 out on loan and then 4 in the club if you count Gabriel, who's currently playing as a centre-half for us. Which is absolutely ridiculous. I don't think our centre-halves are really leaping off the page to me, and they're all kind of old. It's a bit of a mess, to be honest, but I think it's on the verge of being able to be a really good squad. We've got some really good strikers in there. We've got some really good wingers, but I just don't know how we utilise everyone together. You can see our 2 highest valued players here are our 2 strikers, and following them is straight away our 2 wingers, which is just awkward. To be honest, that is just really awkward. I'm hoping we can get through this first season, hopefully strengthen a bit in January, but then at the end, move some players out, bring some players in, and try to just get more of a game plan going with the team, a more complete idea of what we want. Because right now, it just seems like someone's just gone on, picked players at random, and that's what we've been stuck with, which isn't terrible by any means. We've got some good players in there, but I'd just like a bit more of an idea, a bit more of a tactic behind it rather than just having a bunch of good players. And it's really going to be a case of sort of using this first 3 quarters of a season to just see how far we can take them and see what they're capable of and assess who we want to keep and who we don't. And I'm hoping that next season we can make a really good run for promotion, automatic promotion, if we don't this year, because we are only 12 games into the season, which does mean we do have 34 games left, obviously Championship, 46-game league. So, yeah, we've still got about 3 quarters of the season, as I said, left to go. We could still push up very, very highly, which isn't beyond the realms of all possibility. We're 10 points off of the playoffs, which obviously puts us in the relegation zone because it's so early into the season, but also, if a few results start to go our way, we could turn this around very quickly and maybe make a push for promotion this year. Who knows? Sort of in my mind, or according to the board, we just need to avoid the relegation battle, which is actually... They said something like, don't get relegated. I've said I'm not even going to be in contention, so I think that's fair enough. We'll aim for sort of like a mid-table finish at the very least, but let's see how far we can go. We've still got the FA Cup as well. Potential there for a bit of a cup run, maybe, if we can perform. We just need to get the team sort of assessed and figure out what's going on. And if we take a look at sort of how we've done so far, it's not been disastrous. It's not been good, but it's not been terrible. Obviously, we started off very badly. 2 goalless defeats, then a 1-1 draw, and then 2 more defeats. That's an awful start to the season, it's got to be said. But from there, things took a little bit of an upturn. No defeats in 4 games, but 3 draws in there too. 3 1-1 draws, actually. And then what was no defeats in 4 games very quickly turned into no wins in 5. And yeah, it all went a bit south. Now, we did win our last game. Jason Wright scoring the only goal against Portsmouth, which you might think, oh, an upswing maybe. No, Portsmouth are rubbish. They're bottom of the league. And yeah, every team should be probably absolutely pumping them. They've only won 1 game all season, so at least we managed to beat them. It's not the end of the world, but games coming up, Barnsley and QPR, which will be up just after this video. I'm hoping we can impress. I'm hoping we can do well and get off to a good start. I really do want to just get out of this relegation zone, get that cloud out from under our heads as quickly as possible. Under our heads? Over our heads. If you've got clouds under your heads, that's weird. You must be very tall. But yeah, just let's get out of the relegation zone. Let's push on into the mid-table and see what we can do. That's kind of my general plan. We just need to get some players scoring, and we need to keep some clean sheets, because those have been the 2 biggest problems. Only 1 clean sheet in the league all season, that in that latest game against Portsmouth, who are, as we mentioned, a bit rubbish. And, well, we're just not scoring that many either. You can see all of our top goal scorers. If we go back to the competition screen here, we've got 3 top goal scorers with 2 goals each, which is sort of showing that there's a lack of one player just taking the game and just banging them in, which is a bit worrying, because our strikers look like our better players, but I'm hoping with the system we've put in place, we can kind of get them to play a bit better, and if we don't, we can change systems. That's fine. We've got other ones set up. We've got a 4-4-2 and a wider one. I'm hoping we can really do well here. I think this is a really good opportunity, and I actually can't believe we landed it. So if we do perform well, I think we really could take it and just see how well we could do, to be honest. That's absolutely broken everything, by the way. Hold on. Yeah, there we go. So we'll get the next 2 games up straight after this video. They'll be up at 5:45, which, judging by how long this has gone on, is probably after now. So, yeah, be sure to check that out. Thank you all very much for watching, and let me know what you think of our move. Let me know what you think of being at Aston Villa. And I will catch you all in, well, now, probably, for the next 2 games. So, thank you all very much for watching. Subscribe to get the videos in your feed, and see you all soon. Goodbye.